The turnaround. After a stumble life in America, the land of dreams and opportunities, sometimes hides unexpected temptations. This story is the confession of David, a man in his 40s who almost lost everything due to his weakness for the attractive women at his workplace. What is the content of this story? Please listen along with us now. This story takes place in the 1960s, in a quiet, peaceful rural area in the state of Georgia, USA, where cotton fields roll under the sun. Mr. Hank was a professional landscaper. Her eyes were momentarily surprised, mixed with embarrassment. I lunged forward like a wild animal that had been restrained for too long, holding her tight. Victoria gently resisted, but her strength was weak, seemingly just a final instinct before everything melted away. It is a journey into silent yearning, irresistible temptation, and the unavoidable consequences of crossing the line of moral conduct and ethics. The story content. It was June in Texas. The sun was scorching. Ethan sat on the back of the construction manager's pickup truck, his helmet tilted, his profuse sweat sticking to the back of his white shirt, which was already stained yellow with dust. We got married and had 2 children in 3 years, a boy and a girl. Both sets of parents gave us money to buy a small house in town near my workplace so we could move out and avoid any in-law conflicts. My wife found a job at a high school, but the pay was minimal. It happened about twice a week, like a secret rhythm only the 2 of us knew. Everyone rushed outside to see who had arrived. It was a beautiful girl who immediately captivated the male staff, including me. Within a day, the whole center was buzzing with news. The new technician's name was Vanessa, often called Van How, and she was from out of town. She came to our center because her husband had transferred his job to the city. Her family was very well off. Her husband owned a car and a house in a major city. From the day she appeared, there were always people trying to flirt with her, teasing her, trying to make a good impression to strike up a conversation. Even though everyone knew she was married, these moths still flew toward the flame of desire. I felt I was no longer young enough to compete, nor healthy enough to race against the younger guys. Seeing such a beautiful flower, all I could do was stand and look, yearning for her. But I was the first man Van spoke to outside of work. That night on my shift, she was struggling with piles of paper documents and computer files when flash. The computer screen went completely black, and she couldn't turn it back on no matter what she tried. Van was confused, not knowing how to handle the situation, and poked her head out to look for help. It felt like destiny. The first person she saw was me. "Mr. David, you're Mr. David, right?" I was quite surprised that Van would actively call out to me in such a gentle, sweet voice. I walked over. She asked me to check it. Luckily, I knew a little bit. After tinkering for a while, I discovered the monitor cable was just loose. All it needed was to be plugged in tightly. It was simple, but Van was incredibly grateful. "Thank you, Mr. David. I'm so glad you were here, otherwise I wouldn't have known what to do." "It's nothing. Are you working on customer files?" "Yes, I am. I need them urgently for tomorrow morning, and I'm running out of time." "Here, let me help you." Without waiting for her agreement, I sat down and showed Van some basic operations for her to follow. I wasn't an expert in these things, but my method seemed faster than her manual approach. Van smiled, thanked me again, and praised me endlessly, making me feel delighted and flattered. Since I was a child, this was the first time I'd been praised by such a genuinely beautiful woman. I returned to my duty room, lingering for a long time, but I decided that if I kept hovering, I would only leave a bad impression. If you chase love, it runs. If you run from love, it chases you, I vaguely thought, forgetting that I had a family. In the morning, when my shift ended, I changed and was about to leave when Van stood at the door of the room. "Mr. David, are you off work? Let's grab breakfast." Okay." Van stepped inside and I stood up. She sat down and picked up a pen from the floor. She was wearing a short-sleeved, round-neck shirt. I accidentally saw and admired what was visible beneath the fabric. The feeling was indescribable. Initially, I thought it was normal, like seeing my wife at home, nothing strange. But no, a beautiful face, an elegant figure, and a fair body with an eye-catching cleavage. I couldn't control myself and froze, maintaining that position. Suddenly, Van turned around and saw me looking at her chest. She looked down at the neckline of her shirt, then straightened her back and gave me a sharp look. I was startled, embarrassed, and didn't know what to say, but Van spoke first. "Mr. David?" Yes, what is it?" "Actually, I wanted to ask you a favor. My computer, it's broken again. Could you come take a look for me, please?" Van flashed a very bright smile. That smile seemed to lift the guilt and embarrassment I had felt moments before. I happily agreed. We went back into that room. She sat down on the chair. I stood to Van's left, watching her actions and listening to her explanation of why she thought the computer had a problem. I just smiled faintly. Maybe Van truly didn't know. The issue was simple to me. I reached over to grab the mouse, so carelessly that my hand landed right on Van's hand, which was still there. My arm was placed right on that soft, sensitive, enjoyable spot without my realizing it. It wasn't until I finished fixing it that I noticed, along with the dagger-like look she was giving me. "Oh no, this is going to end badly, David," I thought to myself. I quickly pulled my hand back and turned abruptly towards the door. "Hey, where are you going?" I have something to do." "What? Stay here." I was forced to turn back, hunched over like a guilty man awaiting sentencing. Van folded her arms and said nothing, making me even more anxious. But by accident again, I glanced at that revealing neckline. The private space, with just the two of us, plus the seductive scent emanating from her body, made me gradually lose control. I boldly hugged her. My clumsy hand curiously grasped what I had just seen. My lips pressed firmly against hers, kissing her passionately. I could clearly feel Van's body trembling several times. Just when I thought I had succeeded, Van pushed me away. Naturally, a hard slap followed. "Mr. David, what are you doing?" I'm sorry. You men are all the same. All you know is to make mistakes and then apologize." Van said nothing more, stood up and walked straight out. I was still very nervous, my heart pounding in my chest. After a moment of daze, I regained my composure and went home. All day long, my mind was confused, directionless. I couldn't stop thinking about that wonderful body, that soft, pleasurable feeling, and that captivating scent. I was insane, truly insane. Sarah saw me arrive and greeted me warmly. The children were at school, so it was just the two of us at home. She had arranged to swap classes and take the morning off, wanting to cook a delicious meal and surprise her husband. I showered and sat down to eat with my wife. "Your cooking is really good." "If it's good, eat plenty. Were you tired from work today, honey?" It was normal. Just the night shift, no emergencies, so it was easy. Sarah filled my bowl with rice, packed with all my favorite dishes. Right after eating and drinking a glass of water, she came over to me and whispered in my ear, "It's rare for us to have time. Let's do something together. It'll be fun." My energy was recharged, and the excitement I had felt at work earlier hadn't been fully released. The fire of desire surged within me, and I embraced her and led her into the bedroom. We had been married for a long time, but I had never considered sex with her a duty or a responsibility, because Sarah had many new and exciting ways to stimulate me. We were ardent in our lovemaking. Sarah took the initiative to kiss me. Her once soft lips had gradually become less vibrant. Her small, fair hands had become much rougher, covered with calluses. Her curved eyelashes and sparkling eyes now showed more wrinkles and dark circles from nights spent tending to sick children. Her slender body and attractive curves had given way to excess fat and stretch marks after 2 births. I still loved her, not with the intense passion of years ago, but with a deep affection and respect for her. The woman who always dedicated herself to building our family's happiness, often forgetting to eat or sleep. I loved her, but I realized I was slowly drifting. Even while making love to my wife, my mind kept picturing that other woman. What was wrong with me? What kind of person was I becoming? Only I knew the answer. Yet I couldn't pull myself out of that sinful path. Since that day, whenever I walked past the office and rest area of the female technicians in the center, I would peek in, looking for Van. I had tried to fight against myself, but my feet seemed unconscious, slowing down every time I reached that spot. My eyes darted around, observing, ignoring my reason, which was desperately trying to stay calm. Van seemed to be avoiding me. She constantly dodged my gaze. Even when we met in the hallway, she wouldn't even greet me. That's good. I don't know how to face her anyway. I told myself this, but deep down, I felt restless and uneasy. One day, I accidentally saw Van sitting in a secluded corner, quietly sobbing. At first, I didn't dare approach her to comfort her. But she kept crying louder and louder, and I couldn't help but walk over and pat her shoulder to ask what was wrong. I was stunned, expecting Van to slap me again, or at least run away. But no, she hugged me. Van threw herself into my arms, crying torrentially. She told me that yesterday she had seen her husband cheating with a colleague, dropping her off and picking her up in his car. Van talked so much, I couldn't remember everything. As she spoke, her hand gripped mine tightly, and her head rested on my shoulder. The scent of her hair and the physical contact made my heart race. "Mr. David, have you ever cheated?" I haven't." "Then the other day I'm sorry. It's because you're so beautiful, and I accidentally saw your beautiful figure, so I couldn't control myself." Van placed her hand on my lips, signaling for silence. Then she slipped her other hand inside my uniform shirt and gently traced my waist. I want to try cheating once to see what it feels like." Van took my hand, stood up, and pulled me toward a storage room tucked away in a corner that few people ever visited. She deliberately placed my hands on her waist, moving her body back and forth, wiggling seductively. Her curves gradually emerged after her white uniform shirt fell silently to the tiled floor. I went from one surprise to the next. Van's lips were so soft, so sweet. Her gentle, cool hands excited me intensely wherever they touched. I was immersed in this new feeling, nervous, restless, and intensely stimulated. Van, she was almost completely in control. Like a long-starved lioness, she caressed me like I was a young, naive prey before being devoured. "Lie down on the bed." I was foolish. At that moment, I could only obey her without question. My lower half was so consumed that my upper half couldn't think straight. Van sat on my stomach, leaning down. Her warm body crawled over me like a snake, tightly wrapped around my body, which was stiff with pleasure. Every new rhythm, every new move, she was truly wonderful. From her physique to her skills. I was so lost in that lustful craving that I couldn't escape, even having to bite my lip hard to suppress the sounds of ecstasy. Finally, it was over. Our two bodies, drenched in sweat, lay on top of each other, breathing heavily. My heart was pounding wildly. We shared a passionate kiss and quickly cleaned up the scene. I thought no one would ever know about our affair, but the very next day, while I was eating lunch, a female technician who had worked with me for over 5 years came and sat beside me. "Technician David, is eating alone boring?" "If I don't eat alone, who else should I eat with?" Ashley leaned close and whispered, "Where's the beautiful technician Van?" I flinched, dropped my chopsticks onto the table, and nervously asked, "Technician Van? What does she have to do with me? Why would you say that?" "Oh, don't try to hide it from me. I saw everything last night." You saw what?" "Well, should I ask everyone in this center if anyone else saw your passionate moment like I did?" After that half-joking, half-serious threat, I completely collapsed. I pleaded, Please, I'll do anything you want, just keep it a secret for me. I'll do anything." "You said that yourself, okay?" Ashley stood up, gave me a flirtatious look, and turned to leave. I watched her small figure go, my heart pounding with anxiety. I couldn't enjoy my food. My mind was full of fear. I didn't know what she would make me do to keep that secret. Night fell quickly. It was my second consecutive night shift at the centre. I had just finished talking to Sarah on the phone when Ashley suddenly appeared before me. "Follow me." She walked ahead. I heavily followed, nervously anticipating what was next. But Ashley led me to that same room, that same spot. She pushed me down onto the bed and whispered, "Do you think I'm prettier or Technician Van is prettier?" Why would you ask that? Ashley continued to tease me with sweet talk, completely different from our usual conversations. "I just want to know who you think is prettier, me or Van, and who you like more." I hesitated. "I know the answer, but wait. Let me give you a surprise, then you can reconsider your answer." In an instant, Ashley's small body was naked right in front of me. I never would have imagined it would be so beautiful. Ashley was only 30. From the first day she arrived, she hadn't made much of an impression. Her figure looked very ordinary, small, and easily overlooked among the other female technicians. She also dressed quite old-fashioned, fully covered up. Her face wasn't overly beautiful, just average. Her personality was gruff and hard to approach. Perhaps that's why she still hadn't had a relationship until now. I had no idea that beneath that exterior was such a stunning physique. Everything about her was close to perfection. Aside from her short stature, she could be considered wonderful. Fair skin, a slender waist, full breasts, and a seductive, curved bottom. I was stunned and speechless, not knowing what had happened or what was about to happen. My eyes were glued to her body. Mine felt hot as fire. Again, it happened again. I was doing something wrong to Sarah, but I didn't feel guilty at all. My body acted unconsciously, delirious with pleasure, savouring the feeling of ecstasy that those women gave me. Facing a small girl, and it being her first time, I was gentle and slow. I was knowledgeable enough to know what I should and needed to do. Ashley squeezed her eyes shut, biting her lip tightly. The feeling of new stimulation she had never experienced. I had turned her into a woman, a real woman. When the lovemaking was over, I lay on my back, exhausted. Ashley still looked regretful, tears welling up in her eyes. I leaned over and kissed her forehead. I'm sorry. I never thought I'd be so lucky." A 40-year-old technician, whose body was no longer as strong as it used to be and whose face was ordinary, was now noticed by two of the most beautiful female technicians in this town's centre. I was even allowed to explore all the emotional levels they offered. Happiness, pleasure, it was hard to describe. Of course, one time would definitely lead to a second, a third, even countless more. I was like a stud bull, ploughing the fields anytime and anywhere, as long as it was discreet. Those two women became more and more demanding, leaving me utterly exhausted after every battle. Gradually, I stayed at the centre more often, lying to my wife more frequently. I stayed even when I didn't have a shift. The reason, I think, is obvious to everyone. However, my change didn't escape Sarah's notice. A woman's sixth sense told her that her husband was having a problem. I remained confident because I always had an excuse for those nights away from home. On a rare Sunday, I was home. Sarah suggested taking the kids to my parents' home, but I complained that I was tired from the night shift. Sarah looked sad. I saw it in her eyes, but I didn't know what to do. My whole body was exhausted, and my craving for sleep made me not want to go anywhere. Sarah ended up taking the two children by herself. The phone rang loudly. I didn't intend to answer, but seeing Van's name pop up on the screen made me strangely happy. "Hello, why are you calling me now?" "I miss you." "Just last night, and you miss me already?" "Do I need a reason or time to miss someone? The by Geo lam the now?" "I'm coming to your house." "To my house? Are you kidding me?" "My old man isn't coming home today. I also just saw your wife drive away with the two little ones. Are you outside already? Yes. Van chuckled. I couldn't believe she would track me down to my house. As soon as I opened the gate, she hugged me tight. Her soft, delicate hand naughtily massaged me. It was miserable, really. Van was always burning with such a flame of desire, and her husband was always away, not caring. How could she stand it? That's why every time she met me, Van was intensely eager. You're so reckless. What if your wife finds out? I watched your wife leave before I came in, didn't I? Lucky for me, your wife took the kids back to the countryside today, so she probably won't be back until tonight. That means the whole day is mine. I wonder if you can handle me. Even if I can't, I have to. Van jumped on me, clinging to my shoulders, refusing to let go. Her warm body pressed close, making me feel hot all over. All my senses greedily took in the extreme stimulation. I completely forgot that this was my house. I brought my mistress to my own home to do something wrong. I took her onto my marital bed to make love. What was I doing? Van was thrilled and completely uninhibited. This seemed to be the first time we had done this in a decent space, without fear of interruption. She freely expressed her craving, desire, and wildness. I hardly had to do anything, just lay still and enjoy the pleasure the beautiful woman was giving me. This body, which had toiled for decades, was no longer virile enough. I quickly succumbed before Van, feeling unsatisfied. Van kept trying to stimulate me in every way, forcing me to continue fighting until my limbs were shaking and trembling before she relented. I was almost exhausted, lying still on the bed, my eyes glazed over, my limbs weak. Van excused herself, saying she had an urgent matter and had to leave immediately, without lingering. I was surprised by her actions once again, but I was too tired, and I thought it was better for her to leave anyway, just in case my wife came home unexpectedly and found out everything. I slept until evening. Sarah was home, tears welling up in her eyes, sitting dazed in the living room. It wasn't until I dragged my weary body out that I realized my wife had been back for a while. "Oh, Sarah, when did you get back?" "Just now. Sit down here." Hearing Sarah's voice, I sensed that something was wrong. She sat quietly looking at me. I started to tremble. "Where are the kids, honey? I don't hear them." "I left them at Aunt Lan's place." "Why did you suddenly leave them there?" "I want us to talk." "Talk about what? You look so serious." "Am I hiding something from you?" My heart pounded rapidly, and sweat poured down my body. A cold feeling washed over me. It seemed Sarah knew everything. "Hiding what? What do I have to hide from you?" I forced a weak smile, trying to cover up the unease in my heart. "If you don't tell me, don't blame me." I didn't." The conversation was intense, humiliating, and painful. I had been exposed. Van had come to my house today, and Sarah knew. She was deeply disappointed. She wanted to give me another chance, but I stubbornly denied everything. Sarah was truly angry. She had never spoken so harshly to me before. As a teacher, she always remained calm and handled problems gently and subtly. But at this point, everything seemed to have crossed her limit. Sarah packed her and the children's bags while I stood there helpless. I was wrong from the start. I shouldn't have done that. Sarah struggled to drag 2 full suitcases of clothes. Her swollen eyes were still teary. I couldn't do anything in the face of that scene. I hated myself deeply. That was perhaps the moment of my life I regretted the most. "Sarah, where are you going?" "It doesn't matter where I go. You reflect on what you've done. I'm giving you one more chance." I was speechless. Sarah was gone. I was alone in the vast house, which felt strangely cold. I was wrong, not just once. Now, how could I fix it? I didn't know where to start. I pulled a bottle of liquor out of the cabinet and chugged it down. When my throat burned so much I couldn't swallow anymore, I spit out everything in my mouth. I figured it out. On Monday morning, I submitted a request to transfer to another branch, citing family reasons. Fortunately, the director approved it. I went to find Van and Ashley to say goodbye. I didn't see anyone in the duty room. I crept to the secret room in the less frequented area. I heard a sound filled with lust that was very familiar. It was Van. It was her. She was completely naked, wrapped around a sick young technician who had just transferred in. So it was clear. She wasn't the innocent, reserved woman I thought she was. I thought I was the big shot, but it turned out I was just a pawn. I was just a tool for her to satisfy her desires, nothing more. I felt humiliated. Words could not describe it. Van was just as passionate and aggressive as always. Only the person lying underneath enjoying it wasn't me. A hand covered my mouth. I started and turned around. It was Ashley. It was her. She whispered, "What are you doing here?" "I was looking for Van and you." "Looking for me? Why are you looking for me?" "To say goodbye. I'm transferring." "Oh, is that so? I don't seem to care much, do I?" "Of course. Do you see that young technician? She only started 3 days ago, and Van already hooked up with her. She's fast." "Well, if you don't need anything, you should go. I'll message Van when she's done that you came looking for her and said hello." I was shocked, not just once. I was fooled, not just once, by those two women. It was a truly spectacular deception. There was no beautiful, reserved girl here. There was no small, innocent technician either. It was all a scam, all deceit. Yes, a deceiver will meet a trickster. That was likely the consequence I had to face, being led around like a fool without realizing it. In the end, there was only Sarah. Only she believed and was true to me, ready to forgive even though she knew I had betrayed that trust. I understood now. I realized it now. I went to find where she and the children were staying. She was temporarily renting a small house with the two kids, living through hard times. I cried a lot. Because of me, my wife and children had to endure such hardship. I was a terrible man. I had lived all these years only to be manipulated by those women, treated as a plaything without knowing it. I did everything to beg for her forgiveness, even kneeling outside the rented house door all night. Fortunately, Sarah finally forgave me. She gave this lost soul another chance to turn back. I love her. I love this small family more than anything else. From now on, I will definitely dedicate myself to building our future. Thank you for your forgiveness. Thank you for giving me a chance to fix my mistakes. I love you. The value of fidelity. True happiness is not found in momentary temptations, but in cherishing and nurturing the family home. Infidelity not only hurts your partner, but also destroys your self-respect and integrity. Temptation is a test. Weakness in the face of beauty and desire can turn a person into a tool for others, just as David was used by Van and Ashley. Do not trade the most valuable things, family, honor, for fleeting pleasure. The power of forgiveness. Sarah's forgiveness is the most precious second chance in David's life. Recognizing and rectifying mistakes and being grateful to the one who forgave you is the first step to making amends and rebuilding your life.